The morning came slowly. Faint sunlight pushed through the cracks of the ruined walls, painting the stones with pale gold. The fire had burned to ash, leaving only smoke that drifted into the cold air. The alien sat awake, watching the human stir from sleep. The man stretched, rubbed his tired eyes, and gave a small smile. "You stayed," he said softly. The alien nodded. "I had nowhere else to go." For a while, they sat in silence. The alien listened to the strange sounds of this world. Birds calling in the distance, wind moving through broken trees, the creak of old ruins. It felt alive in a way space never did. The human opened a small pack, pulling out bread that looked hard and dry. He broke it in two and handed half across the fire. The alien took it slowly. The taste was rough, but it filled his stomach. The alien finally spoke. "Why do you live here? This place is broken, empty." The man looked at the ruins around them. His face grew heavy. "Because it was my home, long ago." The alien tilted his head. "What happened?" The human's eyes darkened, but he did not look away. He spoke slowly, as if each word weighed more than stone. "War," he said. "Armies came. They burned the colony, destroyed everything we built. My wife, my children, they were lost in the flames. I survived. But survival is not the same as living." The alien's heart tightened. His claws dug into the dirt as memories of his own mother's last breath returned. The sadness was the same. Different worlds, different people, yet the pain felt identical. "The alien whispered. "I thought I was the only one." The human shook his head. "No, pain is everywhere. But sometimes, when two broken lives meet, something new can grow." The alien studied him. He had never thought of pain that way. To him, pain was an ending, a void. But the human spoke as if it could also be a bridge. "Your family," the alien asked carefully. "Do you still see them? In your dreams?" The man gave a faint smile, though sorrow rested in his eyes. "Yes, every night. Sometimes I hear their laughter. Sometimes I see the fire. But I always wake up alone." The alien nodded slowly. "I hear her voice too. My mother. It grows weaker every day. I fear soon I will forget it completely." The human leaned closer, his voice quiet. "Then do not forget. Tell me her story. Keep her alive in words." The alien froze. No one had ever asked to hear about her. His people had been scattered, destroyed, and there was no one left who cared. But this human, this stranger, wanted to listen. He spoke, slowly at first, then, with growing strength. He told the human about her gentle eyes, her hands that always worked even when tired, her laughter when the stars were bright. He told of the way she had taught him to read the stars, to listen to the hum of engines, to never give up even when the galaxy seemed cruel. By the time he finished, his chest ached, but it was not the same sharp pain as before. It was softer, warmer. The human nodded. "She sounds strong. She sounds like someone who believed in you." The alien lowered his gaze. "She did, and I failed her. I could not save her." The human's eyes grew firm. "You did not fail. Sometimes the universe takes what we love, no matter how hard we fight. That is not failure, that is fate. What matters is what we do with the pain after." The words hung in the air. The alien felt them sink deep, cutting and healing at the same time. The sun rose higher, warming the ruins. For the first time, the alien felt something stir inside him. Not just grief, but the faint spark of belonging. He looked at the human and whispered, "My mother died today. Can I stay with you? Even just for this day?" The man's voice was steady, filled with quiet strength. "You can stay forever." The alien's eyes widened. Forever. The word echoed in his heart like thunder. Could it be true? Could one promise change everything? Before he could ask, a sharp sound broke. The moment, A distant rumble. Engines. The human stood quickly, his face tense. The alien felt his chest tighten with fear. He knew that sound. He had heard it before on the day his world was torn apart. The past was not finished. The pain was not done. And forever might not be as simple as a promise. The sound of engines rolled through the air like distant thunder. The alien froze where he sat, his heart pounding. It was a sound he knew too well, ships that brought fire and ruin. His claws trembled, and the memory of his mother's last breath filled him again. The human stood beside him, eyes fixed on the horizon. His face was calm, but there was tension in his jaw. He knew this sound too. "They are coming," the alien whispered. The man nodded. "Yes, but we will face them together." The alien stared at him, shocked. "Together? You do not know what they are capable of. They destroyed my people. They burned everything I loved. You cannot fight them alone." The human turned to him, his gaze steady. "I am not alone. You are here. And I told you last night, you can stay forever. Forever means I do not leave you. Not in fear, not in war." The alien's chest tightened. The word forever echoed in his heart. It was more than kindness. It was more than comfort. It was a promise. But promises were fragile. Could this human truly keep it? Could anyone? The engines grew louder. The alien's body shook. He wanted to run, to hide, but the human's presence held him in place. The man stepped closer, placing a hand on the alien's shoulder. His touch was firm, grounding. "Listen to me. Pain does not end us. Fear does not define us. You are not alone anymore. Do you hear me?" The alien's eyes burned. He wanted to believe. He wanted to hold on to those words like a lifeline. Slowly, he nodded. The human gave a small smile. "Good. Then we stand together." The noise grew until it filled the sky. A shadow passed over the ruins as a ship descended, dust swirling in, the wind. The alien's throat went dry. His mind screamed of fire, loss, and death. The hatch opened. Figures stepped out, tall, armored, their weapons gleaming in the sunlight. They were the same kind who had destroyed his world. The alien felt the ground shift beneath him, but the human did not move. He stood tall, calm, as if the world itself could not bend him. One of the armored soldiers shouted in a harsh voice, "Survivors, hand them over. Anyone left alive belongs to us." The alien's knees weakened. He almost collapsed. But the human's hand on his shoulder held him steady. The man's voice cut through the air, strong and clear. "He does not belong to you. He stays with me." The soldiers laughed, a cruel sound. Weapons were raised. The alien's fear flared again, but now something else rose with it. Anger. The human's words lit a fire inside him. For the first time since his mother's death, he did not feel powerless. He straightened his back, stepping beside the man. His claws curled tight. His voice, though trembling, was loud enough for all to hear. "You took everything from me," he said to the soldiers. "But not this. Not him. Not forever." The soldiers hesitated, surprised by his defiance. The human gave him a quick, proud look. The leader of the soldiers snarled, "Then you will die with him." The air tensed. Weapons hummed with deadly light. The alien's chest rose and fell, his heart racing. Yet he did not step back. The human had promised, and now he was promising in return. For a moment, silence hung heavy, broken only by the whisper of wind. Then the human leaned close and said, quietly, "No matter what happens, remember you are not alone. You never will be again." The alien's eyes stung with tears. He believed him, truly believed him. The soldiers advanced, their boots shaking the ground. The human and the alien stood side by side, two broken souls bound by a single word, forever. And as the shadows of war closed in, the alien realized something powerful. Forever was not just a promise of safety. It was a choice to fight, to protect, to stand together even when the stars themselves turned dark. He had lost his mother. He had lost his world. But here in this ruined place with this one human, he had found something greater. He had found forever. The soldiers raised their weapons. The human tightened his grip on a rusted blade. The alien's claws flashed in the sunlight. The battle for forever was about to begin. Human, alien, and survivor fought as one flame, and that flame burned brighter than the darkness. At last, the enemy pulled back. Ships lifted into the sky, engines howling, soldiers retreating in chaos. The ruins fell silent once more. The alien dropped to his knees, chest heaving, body trembling. The human stood beside him, leaning on his blade for support, his face pale but unbroken. "They will return," the alien whispered. "Yes," the human said, "but so will we." The alien looked around at the survivors, their faces lit with hope for the first time in years. He felt something new inside him. Not emptiness, not fear, but pride. This was not just survival. This was belonging. And for the first time since his mother's death, the alien believed that forever was real. The ruins were quiet again. The fire of battle had faded, leaving only smoke drifting into the pale sky. Bodies of the fallen lay scattered, among broken stones, reminders of the price that had been paid. Yet through the silence, something new stirred. Hope. The alien stood weakly, his body aching, his claws still stained with the fight. His chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. Around him, survivors moved slowly through the ruins, helping the wounded, gathering weapons and whispering words of courage. They were alive. They were not defeated. Beside him, the human leaned on his blade, blood seeping from his shoulder and leg, but his eyes still burned with strength. He looked at the alien and gave a faint smile. "You see," the man said softly, "we are not alone anymore." The alien's throat tightened. He remembered the cold silence of space, the endless loneliness after his mother's death. He remembered thinking there was no reason to go on, no future left for him. Yet now, standing here with this human, surrounded by others who had chosen to rise from the shadows, he felt something he thought was lost forever. Belonging. The alien whispered, "When she died, I thought everything ended. But now, I think maybe it was only the beginning." The human nodded slowly. "Pain is the root of strength. We lost much, but from loss comes the chance to build something new." The alien lowered his gaze, voice trembling. "And you gave me forever." The human placed a hand on his shoulder. "No, we gave it to each other." The words sank deep. The alien felt tears sting his eyes, but this time, they were not only tears of grief. They were tears of hope. The survivors began to gather near the fire, their faces lit by its faint glow. They looked to the human and the alien, not as strangers but as leaders, as symbols of survival. One woman spoke, her voice shaky but strong. "What do we do now?" The human glanced at the alien. For a moment, the answer felt too heavy. But then he remembered the promise he had made, the promise of forever. He lifted his head, his voice steady. "We rebuild. We fight. We create a home again. Not just for one day, but for every day that comes after." The alien stepped beside him, his voice joining with his. "Forever." The survivors murmured the word, soft at first, then stronger, until it echoed in the ruins. Forever. A word once fragile, now a vow that bound them all. Night fell. The stars spread across the sky, bright and endless. The alien sat beside the fire, his body wrapped in a blanket, his eyes lifted to the heavens. He thought of his mother again, of her gentle hands, her voice teaching him to read the stars. For the first time, the memory did not cut like a blade. Instead, it warmed him, like a hand resting on his shoulder. The human sat next to him, silent, watching the flames. They did not need words. The quiet between them was not empty anymore. It was full, with trust, with promise, with forever. The alien spoke at last, his voice low. "Do you think they will return?" The human nodded. "Yes. The darkness always returns. But so will we." The alien turned to him, his eyes glistening. "And if they take me? If I fall?" The man's gaze was steady, his voice unshaken. "Then I will carry your memory, just as you carry your mother's. Forever is not only about living, it is about never being forgotten." The alien's heart swelled. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to have a home. A home was not walls or planets. It was not safety or food. It was a voice that stayed when the stars grew cold. It was a hand that held you when the universe tried to break you. It was forever. As the fire crackled and the stars burned above, the alien whispered, "I thought I was alone in this galaxy, but you proved me wrong." The human smiled faintly. "No one is ever truly alone. Not if we choose each other." The alien leaned back, eyes closing, exhaustion pulling at him. For the first time in countless nights, he felt peace. His mother's memory was with him, the human was with him, and a new family was rising around them. The universe was still dangerous. The darkness would come again, but when it did, he would not face it alone. He had been given something greater than survival, greater than vengeance. He had been given forever, and as sleep carried him into dreams, he knew this was only the beginning of a story written not in sorrow, but in hope, hope born from one simple promise: you can stay forever. The air shook as the soldiers stepped forward, weapons glowing with deadly light. Dust swirled around them, carried by the blast of the ship's engines. The ruins that had been silent moments ago now felt like a battlefield waiting to wake. The alien's claws tightened. His chest rose and fell in sharp breaths. Fear pounded in his veins, but so did something else. Fire. Beside him, the human stood tall, his hand wrapped around a rusted blade. The man's eyes burned with quiet strength, steady as stone. The leader of the soldiers pointed his weapon at them. "Move aside. The alien is ours. If you resist, you both die." The alien's heart nearly stopped. But then the human stepped forward, his voice calm, his words clear. "He is not yours, he stays with me." The soldiers laughed. Their cruel voices cut the air like knives. They raised their weapons higher, ready to end the standoff. The alien felt his body shake, but the human's words echoed in his mind. "You can stay forever, forever." With a sharp cry, the alien spread his claws, standing firm at the human's side. "You took my world. You took my mother. You will take nothing more." The first blast fired. A bolt of burning energy shot past, striking the stones behind them. The ground shook, and smoke filled the air. The human leaped forward, swinging, his blade with a speed born of desperation. The rusted metal met the soldier's armor, sparks flying. The alien lunged beside him, his claws tearing through another soldier's weapon, snapping it in half. The ruins exploded with chaos. Firelight from blasters lit the broken walls, shadows leaping everywhere. The human fought with fury, every strike driven by memory of his lost family. The alien fought with rage, every move fueled by grief and his mother's fading voice. Together they became something more than survivors. The soldiers shouted, trying to overwhelm them, but the narrow ruins worked against their numbers. The human ducked behind fallen stones, striking fast and vanishing again. The alien used his claws to climb the broken walls, leaping down on soldiers from above. Still, the fight was brutal. Energy blasts grazed their bodies, burning skin and scales. The alien cried out once, pain lancing through his side, but the human pulled him to cover, pressing his hand over the wound. "Stay with me," the human whispered. His voice was fierce, unshaken. "You promised to fight. Don't leave me now." The alien's breath trembled. He nodded, his vision blurred with pain, but his fire did not die. "Forever," he rasped. The battle raged on. Soldiers fell one by one, their laughter gone, replaced by anger and fear. The human's blade dripped with sparks, and the alien's claws gleamed with blood and fire. At last only the leader remained. His armor cracked, his weapon glowing with deadly power. He stepped forward, rage burning in his eyes. You think you can defy us? You are nothing. Both of you will die. And no one will remember you. The alien staggered to his feet, his claws trembling, but his voice rose strong. You are wrong. We are not nothing. We are forever. The leader roared and fired. A blast of energy tore through the ruins, stone shattering, fire exploding. The alien felt heat rush over him, but the human shoved him aside, taking the strike. Across his shoulder, he fell to one knee, pain twisting his face, but he did not drop the blade. Rage surged through the alien. He leaped with all his strength, his claws piercing through the leader's chest plate. Sparks flew. The soldier's weapon clattered to the ground, and the giant figure collapsed in a storm of smoke and silence. The ruins grew quiet again. Only the crackle of fire and the sound of heavy breathing filled the air. The ship above rumbled once, then lifted away, leaving behind the bodies of the fallen. The alien stumbled to the human side. The man's shoulder was burned, blood running down his arm, but his eyes still burned bright. You saved me, the alien whispered. The human gave a weak smile. No. We saved each other. The alien looked around at the ruins, at the smoke, at the broken ground soaked in firelight. He remembered the cold stars of the night before, the silence of death and the emptiness in his chest. But now he felt something new. Belonging. The human gripped his arm, his voice steady despite the pain. Do you understand now? Forever isn't words. Forever is this. Fighting together, living together, choosing each other. The alien's throat tightened. His eyes stung with tears. He whispered back, Then I choose you. Forever. And for the first time since his mother's death, the alien believed he was not just a survivor. He was part of something greater, something worth living for. The battle was over, but the war was not. Danger would return. Pain would follow. But together, they had made a promise stronger than fear. Together they had chosen forever. Smoke drifted above the ruins, curling into the sky like dark fingers. The alien and the human stood among broken stones, their bodies bruised, their breaths heavy. The battle was over, or so it seemed. Yet the alien knew in his heart that this was only the beginning. The ship that had lifted away would not stay silent. It would carry word back to commanders, to those who wanted every survivor hunted down. They would return. Stronger. The alien's claws twitched. His side burned from the wound he carried, but he ignored the pain. Beside him, the human pressed a cloth to his shoulder where the blast had struck, blood staining his sleeve. His face was pale, but his eyes stayed sharp. They will come again, the alien whispered. Yes, the human answered, calm but certain. And when they do, we will be ready. The alien turned to him, disbelief in his voice. You are only one man. I am only one broken soul. How can we stand against them? The human gave a faint smile, tired but firm. Because we have something they don't. What? Belonging. The alien frowned, confused. The man continued. They fight for power, for control, for orders shouted by someone far away. But we fight for each other, for something greater than orders. That gives us strength they cannot match. The alien's chest tightened. He thought of his mother, of how she had told him once that family was not only blood, but those who chose to stay by your side. Perhaps this human was right. Perhaps belonging was a weapon stronger than any blaster. The ground shook. The alien's eyes widened. From the horizon, shadows appeared. Larger ships descending, engines rumbling, dust rising into the sky. Not just one, not just a few. Dozens. The human's jaw tightened. So, they've brought the war to us. The alien's breath quickened. Fear rose again, heavy and sharp. But the human's steady gaze held him still. We can't face them all, the alien said. Maybe not, the man admitted. But we can make them pay for every step. We can show them that even the smallest flame can burn the darkness. The alien swallowed. Then what happens to us? The human smile was grim, but there was no fear in it. We survive, or we fall together. That is forever. The words struck deep. Forever was no longer just a promise whispered by firelight. It was a choice to stand against the storm, even if the storm crushed them. The soldiers came fast, their ranks spreading, through the ruins like shadows. Weapons glowed, engines roared, orders barked. The human lifted his blade. The alien flexed his claws. They stood side by side, two against an army, their hearts burning with the same fire. The first wave struck. Energy blasts lit the ruins in blue fire. Stones shattered, air screamed with heat. The alien leaped forward, claws flashing, tearing through soldiers with fury born of grief and hope. The human moved with him, his blade cutting arcs of steel, his body fast despite his wound. Together they fought like one. But the numbers grew. For every soldier that fell, two more stepped forward. The alien's arms ached. His breath came ragged. His vision blurred. Still he fought. He had promised. The human grunted as a strike grazed his leg, but he did not falter. He shielded the alien when blaster fire rained, his body a wall of defiance. And yet, the pressure was crushing. The ruins shook with the weight of war. The alien felt despair clawing at him again. Then he saw it. Other shadows moving in the distance. Not soldiers. Survivors. Faces hidden in broken stone. People who had been hiding since the colony's fall. Slowly they stepped forward, weapons in shaking hands, courage trembling in their eyes. The human shouted to them, voice carrying above the battle. "Stand with us! Fight for your home!" And they did. One by one, the survivors joined, their fear turning into fire. Blades, claws, old rifles, whatever they had, they used. The ruins erupted with defiance. The alien's heart swelled. He was not alone. He had thought his mother's death ended everything, but here, in this broken place, a family was forming. A belonging born not of blood, but of choice. The soldiers began to falter. For the first time, their lines bent. The human grinned through blood and pain, striking harder, pushing forward. The alien roared, his claws shining with fury, his voice rising above the chaos. "You cannot break us. We are forever." The enemy commander shouted orders, desperate to hold control, but the tide had turned. Together, the stars were cold that night. They burned like small fires in the endless sky, but to the alien they felt empty. The ship drifted through the dark void, silent except for the hum of broken engines. Alone, the alien sat by the window, staring into the universe. His mother had died that morning. Her last breath still echoed in his memory, soft and fragile, like smoke that disappears before you can catch it. She had been the last family he had. Now there was no one. The ship was nothing more than a floating coffin. He whispered to himself, "She is gone. Only I remain." His heart felt heavy. The galaxy seemed larger than ever, a place with no safety, no comfort, no home. Planets had been destroyed, families scattered, and war had left scars that would never heal. The alien closed his eyes and tried to remember her voice, but it was fading already, like an old dream slipping away. He thought about drifting forever. Perhaps it would be easier to turn off the engines and let the void take him. Perhaps no. One would even notice his end. But then, something strange happened. The scanner beeped. At first he thought it was nothing, just broken equipment. But the sound came again, sharper this time. A signal, a human signal. The alien froze. Humans were not like his people. They were strangers, unpredictable, dangerous at times. But the signal was weak, almost like a whisper. Whoever it was, they were close and alone. He hesitated. Should he answer? Should he move closer? The alien's fingers hovered over the controls. His heart pounded in his chest. It was easier to ignore it, easier to stay in grief. But something inside him, a voice he had almost forgotten, pushed him to act. Slowly, carefully, he set a course. The ship turned toward a small colony world, half forgotten and quiet. He watched as the planet grew larger in the window, its surface, dark with forest and rock. The scanner locked onto one small beacon, a tiny light in the shadows. When the ship landed, dust rose in clouds around the landing site. The alien opened the hatch, stepping into cool night air. The world was silent. Broken buildings scattered around him. It looked like no one had lived here for years. And yet, there was smoke, a thin trail rising in the distance. Fire. Someone was here. The alien followed the smoke. His footsteps were soft on the cracked earth, his breath slow, cautious. The forest pressed close, shadows thick around him. Every sound made his heart jump, every branch, every rustle of leaves. Finally, he saw it. A fire burned in the center, of broken stones, and beside it, a human sat. The man looked up. His face was thin, worn with age and sorrow. His eyes glowed with the reflection of the flames. He did not reach for a weapon. He did not run. He only studied the alien in silence, as if he had been waiting for him. The alien froze. He wanted to speak, but the words caught in his throat. His mother's last day weighed on him. His heart screamed with pain, but his mouth stayed silent. Then, the human spoke. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Are you hungry?" The alien blinked, confused. He had expected fear, anger, maybe even violence, but not this. Not kindness. The human pointed to a small pot on the fire. Steam rose from it, carrying the smell of food. The alien took a step closer. His hands shook. He had not eaten since his mother's last breath. The thought of sharing food with a stranger, especially a human, felt unreal. But the warmth of the fire pulled him forward, step by step. He sat across from the human. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the crackle of fire filled the night. The alien wanted to tell him everything. About his mother, about the pain, about how empty the universe had become. But instead, he whispered only one line, barely loud enough to hear. "My mother died. Today." The human's eyes softened. He did not look away. He did not ask questions. He only nodded slowly, as if he understood. The alien felt something stir in his chest, something he thought was gone forever. Hope. For the first time since the morning, the stars above did not look so cold. And somewhere deep inside, he felt that this meeting was not an accident. It was the beginning of something greater. Something that might last forever. The fire burned low, its light flickering across the broken stones. The alien sat across from the human, the weight of silence pressing down on them both. The air smelled of smoke and food, but stronger than that was the strangeness of this moment. Two different beings, from two different worlds, sharing the same night. The alien's stomach growled, loud in the quiet. He looked down, ashamed, but the human only smiled faintly. Without a word, the man poured some food into a small metal bowl and slid it across the ground. "Eat," the human said. His voice was tired but warm. The alien hesitated. Trust was not easy. His people had always whispered that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and selfish. Yet here was a man, alone, offering food to a stranger who had walked out of the dark. Slowly, the alien reached out and took the bowl. The steam rose into his face, carrying a simple smell: roots, herbs, water, and something else he could not name. He lifted it to his lips. The warmth touched his tongue, and for the first time in days, maybe weeks, he felt alive. The human watched quietly, his eyes reflecting the fire. He did not speak, did not rush. It was as if he knew that silence was better than questions. Finally, after the last bite, the alien lowered the bowl. His voice trembled. "Why?" The human tilted his head. "Why what?" "Why help me? You do not know me. I could be your enemy." The man poked at the fire with a stick, sending sparks into the night. He gave a small shrug. "Enemy? Friend? Hungry? Lost? In the end, you are someone who needed food. That is enough." The alien stared at him, unable to speak. He had expected suspicion, maybe even rejection. But this answer, this was something else, something he did not understand. The human leaned back, his face lit by the fading flames. You said your mother died today. The alien's chest tightened. The words cut deep again. He nodded slowly. I lost my family too. The man continued, his voice quiet, almost broken. Long ago. War came, fire came, and everything I loved was taken. When I woke the next morning, I thought there was no reason to go on. The alien listened closely. Every word seemed heavy, shaped by real pain. It was strange. Different species, different worlds, yet the sorrow sounded the same. What did you do? The alien asked. The human looked at the stars above, eyes distant. I survived. I kept breathing. I kept walking. I don't know why. Maybe I was waiting for something or someone. The fire cracked, filling the silence. The alien felt his throat tighten. He wanted to say more, but only one question escaped. Do you still hurt? The man gave a sad smile. Yes, every day. But pain does not have to be the end. Sometimes it is the beginning. The alien looked down at his hands. His claws trembled slightly. He thought of his mother's last breath, her weak smile, her final words that he had not even understood. He thought of how empty he had felt since then, and now, sitting by a fire with a stranger, he wondered if the human was right. Maybe this was a beginning. The night grew colder. The human stood, pulled a ragged blanket from a bag and offered it across the fire. You should rest, he said. The alien shook his head. I do not need rest, the man repeated firmly. Tomorrow is another day, and if you want, you don't have to face it alone. The alien's breath caught. The words sounded simple, but to him they were heavier than any starship, stronger than any weapon. He took the blanket with shaking hands. As he lay near the fire, the alien whispered, barely louder than the wind, My mother died today. Can I spend the day with you? The human looked down at him. For a long moment he said nothing. Then his answer came, steady and soft. You can stay, as long as you want. The alien closed his eyes. For the first time since his mother's death, he did not feel completely alone. For the first time in his life, he thought maybe, just maybe, forever was possible. Above them, the stars no longer seemed cold. They seemed like witnesses, shining down on two broken souls who had found each other in the ruins of the galaxy.